They would know what they're at risk of happening.
Alright guys, so here we are live against Crank, the FnaticRaidCall Invitational. We have the round of 16 casters today. We have our first Terran versus Protoss, and we have a live against Crank. And I'm pretty happy to announce once again to all of you out there who missed it that Todd is casting with me today. And we have him in the first match with a Protoss player, which is probably something that you are really happy about, aren't you?
Yep, finally we get some Protoss action. I'm getting a little bit sick of this TVZ.
Oh, I love TVZ, but it's always awesome to hear insights into the matchup. And yeah, it's been quite a while since we casted the last game with Protoss. So, do you know anything about Crank and about his style? Do you play him on ladder sometimes?
I have seen very little out of him. I think I played with him a few times on ladder, but he was on a Smurf. So like the Slayers, Protosses, Puzzle, Alicia, Crank, they share IDs, so you never know who you're against when you play one of their Smurf. But I'm pretty sure I must have played him a few times. I think he's like a little bit cheesy, like sometimes proxy gate void ray. Against aLive, I wouldn't recommend going for that, so maybe he will play macro. Then again, like we are not seeing a Nexus first. These days, the Terrans, they have like really good builds against Nexus first. And on this map, there is only cross map, it's the GSL version. So like it's really easy for the Terran to scout it and then do some kind of a push or lean and then kill it.
What do you think about this build that we've seen in the GSL by Bomber, for example, when he starts with 3 barracks and then no gas, 3 barracks, starts to go into command center, builds a ton of Marines and starts to pressure the Protoss in order to just punish early Nexus, like a Nexus first, even a 1 gate expand. Do you think that's really strong? Will we see that a lot more often now, or how do you defend against it as a Protoss?
Well, if it's on this map, you should scout cross map as soon as possible. Try to count the SCVs in the mineral line. Then it can give you an idea if your opponent is proxying or not. If you know he's proxying, you just get as many stalkers as possible to defend, and then you get an expansion ASAP. And look at this Crank. I don't know if you noticed there was some SCV missing in the mineral line, but he's like going around with his probe. And yeah, there is actually a proxy barracks from aLive, and I don't think he's going to be really good in this situation because Crank, he went for a standard build and he's going to be able to get some stalkers as soon as his cybernetics core finishes.
Is aLive doing a lot of this proxy barracks play? I have to say that usually I see him with a straight up game.
Not that much, but these days I played a lot of Terrans who did this kind of stuff on ladder, and I think he noticed it because I sit next to him in the gaming house. So maybe that's why he decided to opt for this. And actually, like he only gets 1 extra barracks, so it's only 150 more. And if there is no Nexus first against him, he can just like not use the second barrack and make a CC. So I think that's what we might see here. He realizes there is no Nexus first. He doesn't need to put pressure. He's not behind or anything. He just spent 150 minerals more. He just makes his CC now, and against the Nexus first, like you're in really good shape. You can just attack and win. And against the Nexus first, you take an expansion. You're only 150 minerals.
Yeah, you have
late.
A little bit delayed, but not by too much. You will still have the expansion early enough and get this advantage. And as you already pointed out, Crank was worried about this. He realized, okay, something is a little bit off. There's 1 SCV missing, so he played like very safe now.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of probes before making his Nexus. He didn't make Nexus that early. He has 2 stalkers out on the map now, so he's going to be able to do a lot of scouting, position them to prevent aLive from scouting. aLive did not see that second Nexus, I believe.
No, he didn't. He has no idea at this point, so didn't see that there's a Nexus building now for his opponent.
And actually very fast second gas here from aLive. Only 2 barracks, the standard usually is 3. He has a lot of Marines on his ramp, so he doesn't need a bunker yet. He's feeling pretty sure, like he's pretty sure that he's not a 4 gate, because otherwise like he would be very dead with only these Marines and no bunker.
Yeah, we have 2 additional gates now for Crank, but nothing out of the ordinary. Definitely no 4 gate play with the expansion that we see, something that aLive already scouted. Usual transition into the robotics, so even if there was some kind of attack play going on,
he should be getting a sentry.
Yeah.
So he charges up in energy. Yeah, he gets the sentry immediately. And really, okay, so he's gonna be core boosting probes, try to get as many probes as possible, and probably just keep 16 on the minerals in his main, transfer the rest to the expansion, and just like start having a huge boom in his economy. Okay, actually he transfers more.
What is the most difficult or the most dangerous time for a Protoss player these days against Terran? What is the time when you really struggle a little bit surviving on? At what point do you think, okay, this is the time in the game where I actually feel kind of safe right now?
The time where we feel safe, or
No, well, the time when you start to feel a little bit more safe and when you're actually the most worried against Terra. And I remember when we talked first, when I came to Korea, that you mentioned that especially when the first two medivacs are out, there's a time when they have this amazing drop timings. So is this still something that really completely worries you when you play against Terran player, or is it something different now?
Well, when I have 200 supply with Colossus and Storms, I feel safe. But before that, like, you're always on the edge. The Terrans these days, they play really aggressive, and they push forward with like their first few medivacs plus their factory, which is kind of a big deal. Like the factory can change everything. Oh, but actually aLive getting tanks. Oh, we might see a huge push here. 2 reactors on his barracks. Oh, yeah. This is really huge. I think the whole point of this, right, like you need to scan for the ops so that they cannot see it and the Protoss player cannot adapt. But now he has just let an op slip and get into his base. Like we can see Crank right now, we can see everything that's in aLive's base, so he's going to be able to anticipate this push. And a good thing to do for him would be maybe a lot of Zealots and then Archons. We're going to see how he tries to adapt to it. And he's getting combat shield, he doesn't have team pack, right? I think he's going to attack with about 3 tanks and a lot of SCVs maybe.
Yeah, we have him without Stim so far. He just finished combat shield, and no, actually he didn't. He is going for Stim right now. How do you feel about Antigua in general in this matchup? How do you feel about Antigua in general?
I kind of like it. I think it's like one of the more interesting maps right now on the ladder. Like, it doesn't particularly advantage anybody too much, even though I will say like it's really hard to defend with these cliffs against medivacs. Like you need to get blink ASAP or charge. Like if you play Colossus first, like your brain will explode against a good Terran on this map. It's just gonna drop everywhere. You're not gonna be able to do anything, even with perfect split. He's just gonna move around and snipe a lot of stuff while he macros. So you need either charge or blink, in my opinion. But now, actually, Crank going for Robotics Bay.
Yeah, he just started it. Well, he just is now near completing it, and he has the second Immortal. But a few SCVs are being pulled here, as we already predicted.
And 44 supply against 36 for aLive right now, who's sieging in front of Crank's base with only 2 tanks. He went for it really early, and it might fail. He has to be very careful about his force field.
Yeah, decent force field. He needs to be sure that he's not completely cut off, and Crank is now just trying to bide a little bit of time until his Colossus are ready. Extended term land. First Colossus is building, the tanks sieged up in the back. There's already 1 observer. I think aLive should know about the observer. It moves the entire time, so you could just scan and take it out.
And actually, yeah, Crank is going for Colossus. If range is complete, it would be really good for him. He could be able to burn so many of those Marines at once. And aLive being very slow with his push, but not making any bunker. I'm not sure why that is.
And guys, remember, we don't have combat shield for aLive. He's only on 45 hit points.
He cancelled? I thought he was making it.
Yeah, I thought so too. I think he cancelled it and started to get Stim.
Oh, must have been an accident, because he was making it for a while. And aLive moving back now. I think he realizes that his opponent almost has Colossus, maybe range on the way. And look in the base of aLive.
Yeah, he just warped into the high ground with the help of this observer. And now, this could be brutal. He doesn't have anything here at this moment.
Ooh, this SCV is blocking each other. Frank moving forward in the middle of the map without Colossus range, although it's almost completed.
Oh yeah, here we go in the second. Colossus just popped out. He's going for the reactor right now. He's just trying to... Oh, maybe he can even get the tank here.
And aLive, I think he went back because he realized he cancelled combat shield and he was too weak to push without it. And Crank with the really great move, a pylon down the ramp, plus an ops, warping Zealots into the main, not having to make any warping.
There's a huge problem if you have Stim and no combat shield. If you just Stim once and your opponent is able to retreat and you don't do any damage, suddenly you will be on 35 hit points, and with Colossus in the picture, you will lose your Marines like this within an instant. A third base being built for aLive now at the bottom left of his expansion, but we also have another Nexus for Crank, who's on 113 supply against 124.
And Crank produced a lot of army. He did not opt for any tech right now. No upgrades so far. No Templar Archives.
He's actually quite behind in progress. 43 against 52. And the Mule.
He stopped making probes because he thought it was going to be a pure all-in, and you need to stop making probes or you die, because they're useless in a big fight against an all-in. Except aLive, with the really smart move, realizing that his opponent might have done that, went for a third CC and a lot of SCVs. So now I think aLive is ahead economically, but he has to handle his push very carefully, or it might be the end of him.
Yeah, the Colossi are definitely a problem for him. He loses a lot of his add-ons here. Only has one Viking available. He's trying to get additional ones. And at the bottom right now we have the double forge for Crank, who tries to get the upgrades into play. But Crank realized that he won't be in a position where he can break through this, so he's headed out once again, trying to retreat here.
I think he should have stayed a bit more. There was only one Viking out. He could do a little bit more damage. Force this to lift.
He's retreating now with his army. He's a little bit indecisive here.
Marines shooting. Area Marines shooting somewhere.
Yeah, I think at the bottom.
Maybe they're just warming up against something like a critter or something. They just can't help themselves.
The Marines warming up.
And look, aLive going for the armory
they
right
probably
now,
just killed the pylon.
Oh yeah. And he's remaking Twilight Council. Didn't he already have one? Can you check down his minerals?
I thought he...
Oh, he cancelled it. When he saw the tank marine push, he cancelled the Twilight Council, and he made Robotics Bay.
And here's the Twilight going for additional gates, +1/+1 being researched, charge, obviously an upgrade that he desperately needs, and we have a drop at the third by aLive here, not taking down too many of the harvesters in total, but with the initial attack he already killed a few, and I think he must have killed some of the harvesters here as well. There's another drop at the bottom. Oh, double dropping, I think we missed this one.
This one's empty though.
Yeah, now. But yeah, those guys have a few kills, so they definitely took down a few of the harvesters. The harvester count is now 62 to 56.
Oh wow, he contributed a lot of probes. He actually caught up pretty much here. And aLive right now taking his third. I think he needs to take the Ghost now and take it into a macro game where, in my opinion, is better than like almost any Protoss.
What's the thing that you when you have a really 200 supply army, and that's actually what we are headed for the Protoss player right now. He has the Archons, he will probably get Storm soon as well. What's the most important thing you have to pay attention to when it comes down to those huge macro fights with 200 supply?
You need really good positioning and to split your Templars really well. And on this map I would recommend taking the middle of his cannons and putting pylons there, and if you control the middle, like you can basically control the map on this map. And like you can take the base in middle to the Terran cannot maneuver around. You have vision at all times since you have the 10 line in the middle. And it's so much easier to storm and take the fights in a good position from there. Oh wow, really nice feedback here.
Yeah, well done. Takes down the dropship. And at this point in time we have both of them at 187 supply. The army supply is in favor of aLive though. He has a lot less harvesters than his opponent. When you face your opponent at this point, what unit in the army composition of the Terran are you worried about the most?
Ghosts.
The Ghosts.
Yeah, no hesitation, Ghosts. They can do so much damage. If they charge up in energy and catch a lot of your units, like these Archons, they basically don't exist. They have 5 HP. They start with 5 HP if they get EMP'd well. And the Templars, if you can't get any storms off, like the Colossus can only do so much. You know, the Vikings will take care of them. And then the Bioforce, especially this many Marines, like if you don't have any AoE, it's like a warden or something, you know?
Yeah.
Before the nerf. You just
fan of knives 2 times and GG.
Yeah, pretty much. And 2-2 almost finished here. For Crank, he has Storm and Blink about halfway. Oh, he has to be very careful here. Really good job by aLive for harassing. I hear Marine shooting.
Right there it is. Taking down, and here's the main battle. We have Guardian Shield for both of them, immediately stinned by aLive. There are no Storms upgrade, it's not available yet. And from the back, all those Colossi dishing out a ton of damage to the Marines, but the Vikings doing a good job here. The first of the Colossi is dead, the second under pressure, but survives. And now aLive is completely thrown off here. He has a huge problem, dropping in supply like crazy, down to 120 against 150. And Crank is pushing through, and even though he does not have Storm, takes down the orbital as well. A little bit of a drop going on at the bottom, but it's just not enough. And the third base now under a lot of pressure. aLive is struggling.
And Crank here attacking with the perfect timing before there's too many Ghosts, before there's too many Vikings. And these last 2 Colossus, they are the reason, like, aLive couldn't run into this army and crush it.
Wow, taking down the third base. A lot of SCVs are dead, down to 33, 83 probes against 33. Crank maybe with a little bit too many harvesters here, especially on 3 bases. Trying to get a 4th, but already on +2/+2 upgrades, getting +3/+3, headed into his opponent's base with an excess plus of 70 supply. This looks like curtains for the Terran player, yeah.
Really good timing here by Crank, as I said, like for those of you like who seen me play, you can already guess how this would have went if I had played. I would have waited and then I would have lost to a lot of ghosts and Vikings.
Well, Crank hit the nice timing and he takes the first game 1-0 for Crank against aLive.